Yeah, hi. My name's Phil. I'm from SquareFish, and thanks so much for having me. Thanks for all coming today. It's great to chat to you all. And we're going to be chatting today about digital marketing for decision makers. Now, there's not just me. I'm Phil, but I've also got my colleague Dan, who's our head of SEO, and I've got Kelly, who's one of our amazing researchers. So then they might both jump in later on the chat as well. Now, today is digital marketing, but all for decision makers for you guys, because for you guys as decision makers, either running your business or running the marketing area of your companies, it's up to you to try and work out how to spend your hard-earned time and money in digital marketing. And that really is the decision makers' problem. There's infinite ways you can spend your time and money in digital marketing. I mean, you could be working a bit more on search engine optimization. Is that a good use of your time? Or maybe pay-per-click, maybe a bit more pay-per-click time be the best value. There's the display side of pay-per-click, there's the search side of pay-per-click. How do they weigh up? The social media, and there's always another social media channel and another social media channel, and there's countless other ways you can be spending your time and money. So where should you concentrate your efforts? That's your question. I mean, do you do them all? Do you, but maybe you'll be spread a little bit thin, or do you just do a few? Do you go all the way in on one, and you really focus in on one, and you can be awesome at that, but maybe that's eggs and baskets. So it's quite a hard decision, where offers the best value for your business, and that really, I suppose, is the crux of it for you, because one size doesn't fit all in digital marketing. So how on earth do you work out what's the best use of your time and money? Well, that's the aim. That's the aim of today, to know where and how you should be spending your time and money in digital marketing. Right, how are we going to do that? Okay, well, we're going to chat through the main ways you can go finding new clients online. Okay, we're going to talk about search engine optimization. We'll talk about paid advertising. We'll look both at the search side of paid advertising and the display side of paid advertising. We'll talk about social media, again, looking at both the free and the paid side. And we'll also look a little bit at click-through rate optimization, or conversion rate optimization, as sometimes you might hear it called. And for each one, we'll start by getting a good solid grasp, a good overview of how each of these work. Then we'll look at, what they're great for, what they're strong at, and also what those areas might be very poor at, might be bad value. We'll also share some of our top tips from many, many, many years at the coalface doing this, and also some of the main pitfalls for you to avoid. Now, I'm going to move pretty fast here. I'm assuming that you've all got a bit of a base understanding of these things, but don't worry. What we'll do is we'll record. This is all being recorded, and I'll make sure at the end I'll share recording, and any resources I mention or other links of great things you should be checking out, I'll share all that lot at the end. And then we'll even have time for questions at the end too. So if you do have any questions, anything pops in your mind, please just throw it straight into the conversation window, and we'll get stuck into all those at the end. All righty, let's get started. We're going to get stuck into search engine optimization first. So search engine optimization, getting your website to the top of the free bits of Google. What do I mean? Well, let's go and have a little look. So here we go. Here's a little search page on Google, and these are all the free bits. This is search engine optimization. So you've got your main organic listings, as we call. So you've got one listing, or excuse me, let me go back a bit. Excuse me. That's better. There we go. Okay. So we've got an organic listing here at the top. We've got one here and the rest coming down here. They're called the main organic listings. There's 10 of those on a page, and they're free. Search engine optimization is getting your websites to appear there. And you've also got these other boxes that are starting to appear quite a lot, like this people also ask, or the answer boxes, things like that. You see them being here, and being in those is also free. Now, the other stuff that we get on these pages is the ads, and they are always marked. If you're wondering what's the free bit, what's the paid bit, the ads are always marked. Sometimes it's quite small, little subtle marking, but you can see it there, ad. So that's pay-per-click advertising. That's a different thing. That's not SEO. SEO is getting to these free bits, which on this one are down there. Now, you'll hear as I'm chatting away, I'll say Google and search engine kind of interchangeably. The reason for that is, for us here in Ireland, there's only really one search engine we care about, and that's Google. It's completely dominant. 96.1% of the search traffic, according to this one particular stat I pulled up. And there's gazillions of other stats that all say about the same thing. And also, to be honest, if you get yourself to the top of Google, well, the other search engines, they all rank in a pretty similar way to Google. So if you're top for Google, to be honest, you'll mostly be there or thereabouts in Bing and the other search engine. So we're really going to just focus on Google because that's the one that provides the traffic. Okay, right. So how do we get to the top of Google? Well, it's 3 steps to SEO. Okay. The first step is keyword selection. That's deciding what searches you want to appear for. Okay. Second step is on-site. That's putting the right words in the right places on your website. That's the start point. But then the real meat of on-site SEO is making your website larger, better, and more helpful than your rival sites are. And finally, there's off-site SEO, which is link building, getting other websites to put links on their site to your website. All right, let's expand all those and we'll get stuck in a little bit more detail. Keyword selection. Okay, firstly, when I say keyword, you should really think key phrase. It's the words that you type in the top search bar in Google, and it's usually a couple of words. It's usually a phrase. Now, this is the most important part of SEO, and in our experience, the most neglected part of SEO too. It's definitely one I'd highly recommend concentrating on, because your keyword selection, that is picking the battles you're going to fight. And if you pick the wrong battles, it really doesn't matter whether you win those battles or lose them if you pick the ones. This really is the key area. And when I'm doing keyword research, I'm looking really at 3 main factors. I'm looking at the traffic, how many people are actually searching for that keyword in Google. I'm looking at the competition. Can I win that fight? Because there is 0 traffic on page 2, page 3, page 4, and all the way down in Google. It's all about really the top of page 1. That's where all the traffic is. So there's no point in me doing SEO to move me from, page 10 to page 2 in Google. I'll still have no clicks. So I'm looking at the competition. I only pick fights I think I can win. I can get to the top of Google on. So look at traffic, looking at competition. And finally, I'm looking at conversion rate. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get almost inside of the mind of the person who's typing that search into Google. And I'm trying to think, is that person the perfect customer for me? If they are, I want them on my website. And if they're only so kind of might be interested, might not, then I'm very much less interested. I'm really trying to get the guys who are the perfect customer for me. So they're the 3 things I'm looking at: traffic, competition, and conversion rate. Now, what I'll do afterwards is I'll share some resources for those who want to get really stuck into this. It's an awesome and fascinating area. So I'll share some great resources for those that want to read up more. But let me just give you a quick little example of where it's easy to slip up. So let me introduce you to one of our companies. You should see my Ireland tour up there on screen. So that's one of our businesses. We're involved in lots of different companies. This is one of them. What these guys do, it's your stereotypical coach tours for North Americans. So into Dublin, Guinness Storehouse, go and see Galway, Cliffs of Moher, Kiss the Blarney Stone, back up to Dublin. Those type of coach tours, that's what they do. So if I said to you, right, we want to do an SEO big campaign for this, what keywords should we do? You might say, well, tours of Ireland and island tours and phrases like that, they're probably great. They're probably bang on, there's probably lots of searches, and there's probably, people will probably actually want your product. Perfect. Let's go and actually have a look at the traffic stats. There we go. Island tours, as it turns out, gets 10 times the traffic compared to Tour of Ireland. So if I hadn't really done my homework, I could have accidentally lost 90% of our traffic just by a slip of the tongue, by a turn of the phrase, saying Ireland tours, Tour of Ireland. Sure, they're all the same. But actually, when you get stuck in, there can be surprisingly big differences. Now, this type of data is all fully accessible. And what I'll do again at the end is I'll share a few links to a few of my favorite places. If you're interested in who's typing your keywords into Google and what numbers, we'll share our favorite tools for getting that type of information. Okay, so I've picked my keywords now. I've thought about the traffic and I've thought about the competition. I've thought about the conversion rate. I've got my keywords. Great. What is the next step? Okay, on-site SEO. What's on-site? It's 2 things. It's putting the right words into the right places on the website. Okay, again, I'll share, if you want to get stuck into the meat of that, I'll share some top tips on that later on. But it's also making your website larger, better, and more helpful for Google. Okay, let's go and have a little look at that. Okay. So let's flick back to island tour. Now, I said on the last slide that island tours, that phrase is one of our favorites. Loads of traffic. It's great. So when we're putting in the right places, really the right places are the big, obvious places on the site. It's no coincidence. We got a giant title here that says island tours. Our big titles, it's in there. And if you look at the links you see island tour. And if you look at the photos, I've got a big photo of the type of place you would go on a tour of Ireland. So the right places on your website, to be honest, are the big important places. Okay. The big obvious places to your human visitors, not to Google, but to the humans that look at your website, to people. That's what matters, because it's one of those big myths of SEO that you can keep your website the same mostly and just kind of fiddle around the edges, add a few words in here in the dark corners, and it will help, but it won't. That, unfortunately, is a great big myth. The bigger and more important something is on your website to real visitors, the more weight Google will put in it. So Google really cares what my title is and what my big photos are and what's on my homepage. And Google really doesn't care, to be honest, about some tiny little text you stick in the corner, right on page 29, way hidden in the dark corner of your website. Doesn't really count. It's all about that big stuff. Okay, so that's where I should be putting my words. Okay. But also better, more. Let me show you a good example of that. Okay. So here we are. We wanted this project to come high for the phrase island travel guide. And you can see us right there, number one for the phrase island travel guide. Woo! And we're beating people like Rick Steves, and you'll see there's Lonely Planet down below. How did we do that? Well, we actually made a travel guide that is larger, that is better, and is more helpful. There's no fairy dust. There's no magic fairy dust or secret code on SEO. So it's something to always be in our head. There's wonderful rewards from doing good SEO, but it is expensive. It's a serious investment, because we had to go and out travel guide the travel guide companies. We made a travel guide that is, I think it's the bones of about 500,000 words in that travel guide. Something like that. So that's the scale of the job that we had to roll out to make that happen. Okay. Now, sometimes creating this larger, better, more helpful content, you'll hear people call it digital marketing content generation. Now, I'm not a big fan of that term at all, to be honest, because it can almost be misleading. It can be a little bit misleading. It makes you think that, you know what, I'm just, firing out generic content, and the audience of this content is Google. I'm just writing for Google. Write lots of articles with the phrase tour in and island in, bang, and that's Google done. No. And it really is quite misleading. A much better mindset, I would say, is to think you want to be super helpful for humans. If you're helpful for your human, your real people visitors, Google will reward you. So that should always be your focus when you're trying to create content. I don't even think about Google. I think, right, what does my audience want to know? What do they want to know? And I'm going to be the helpful guy on the internet. I'm going to give them every answer they could ever want. That is what making your website larger, better, and more helpful is about. Now, people will often ask me, how'd you get inspiration? I don't know what to talk about. Where do you even start? Okay. Well, let me introduce you to some people. Okay. This is Mark and Colin. They're two brothers who set up an amazing little accountancy firm in Dublin called First Accounts. And they're all really, really highly recommended, by the way. They're awesome. And they really are into kind of the tech side, the efficiency side for like digital businesses, e-commerce businesses, anything where you can use tech just to make life wonderfully easy. That's kind of their focus. But what should they write about if they're trying to be larger, better, more useful? Because accounting is quite a dry subject. So what on earth do we talk about? Okay, so I'd always recommend, if I was them, what would I be chatting about? Well, I would first start by thinking, what's every question that I've ever been asked? You guys in your businesses, you are the experts. You know the real questions. Just say, okay, what comes in on my email? What comes in on my phone? Those questions. That's what your website should be answering if you want to make it bigger, larger, more helpful, if you really are trying to compete in the land of SEO. You guys, a digital content writer, won't have that same sense that you do. These are the real problems that people have. These are the real misunderstandings that people have. You know that. You know what people are getting stuck on. And I would always recommend those really basic questions, the ones that people might think are almost too stupid to ask. Okay. You'd be surprised how easy it is for us because you work in your industry all day, every day, and you probably know everything about it. So to view it again from like a beginner's point of view can be quite hard. And that's what you want to do, is just put on your complete newbie glasses and say, right, I've never even heard of this industry. What do I want to know? And a great source of that is People Also Ask. So let's go and have a little look. Okay. Imagine I was these guys. I might think, right, my perfect client might search something like this. Okay. Accountant for e-commerce business Dublin. Someone that types that into Google, bang, that's the perfect client. I want to appear for them. But what do they want to know? Well, Google tells you, look right here. People also ask, do you need an accountant for an online business? How do you account for e-commerce business? What is an e-commerce accountant? It tells you the type of questions they're looking for. And it's really quite interesting. Every time you click on a question, it gives you more. Can I be my own accountant? How much should I pay? Well, that's very interesting. And on it goes, and you can really see the type of often quite basic questions that people are looking for. I had a little look earlier on. This is when I was playing around for the same search. And look at this. Should I have a bookkeeper or an accountant? It's easy. Is QuickBooks worth the money? Is QuickBooks cheaper than an accountant? Like, people are almost getting the wrong impression. They seem to be confusing accounting software with a physical accountant. I mean, what's the difference? Are they the same thing? Are they different things? What's a bookkeeper? What's an accountant? I don't. Are they the same person? Are they two different people? Are they two different companies? It's these real basic questions. When you get stuck in, you'll often find that that's what the world is struggling for. It's easy to Google, VAT rules, but it's really hard to try and work out, do I actually need a bookkeeper? What on earth does a bookkeeper do? It's those type of questions. That's a great thing I always recommend, is those real basic, almost people feel too stupid to ask type questions. So, right, I know what I want to talk about on my website now. I've got a good idea. I've done my homework here. These are the topics that the world is struggling with, and I'm going to be that useful person. I'm going to fill out my website. What do I actually write? What do I write? Well, the 10x user experience. I'd say that's probably a phrase quite a few of you have heard of. It's banded around in digital marketing loads. What we're talking about there is, before I go and do, well, any form of content online, I'm thinking, can I make something that is 10 times better than anything else that's out there? That's my standard. That's the bar I am looking for. And if I don't have the ability, if all I can make is just another average kind of beige, run of the mill piece of content, I'm not going to bother. Okay. Google does not reward average bits. And it's where you always want to be careful. If you are outsourcing writing to like a content generator, it's risky. I won't lie. It is risky, because unless they know as much about your industry as you do, it's likely they will produce that beige content. And, it's a well-known almost technique in SEO to go to a website, find all that average, not particularly great content, select all, delete, bang. And suddenly the actual rankings of the site improve, because the average quality of the content in the site is suddenly better. We've got rid of all that weak stuff. We got rid of it. So if we're ever going to get stuck into writing stuff, it does need to be awesome. So how do I make it awesome? Well, a few top tips for you. Answer completely. So go big. You've got all the time in the world. Don't just explain lightly what a bookkeeper versus an accountant is, or whatever the topic is. Go into detail. Give the full, interesting, fattened out answer, plus all the follow-up questions. You speak to these people on the phone. You speak to your clients all day, every day on the phone, the email. You know what the next question will be, and the next question will be. Get them all there. Make them all answered. Answer honestly. When we looked at those questions, there was quite a bit about, do I need an accountant? Now, if I was selling accountancy service, I would still answer honestly. If they do need one, I'd say, yes, it's a legal requirement. And if they don't, I would say, no, you absolutely don't need it. You can do it all yourself. But if you do want someone to do it, we can help you. Just be honest as you're doing this. And finally, share your opinions, share your expertise. You guys are the experts, like other people are not, and you want to share that. Let's go and have a look. Okay, let me give you another example of that. I'm going to flick to another little business. Let's go for this one. Okay, what's this? This is another one of our companies. This is the Ski Gathering. It's a little ski holiday company, and it's for people who are traveling on their own. They all get grouped up with other people, put into either a chalet or a hotel, and buff. They've got their whole kind of social group for skiing sorted, all in the one go, buff. That's what that business was. Okay. So when I'm saying I want to share my opinion, share my expertise, imagine ski hire. That's a great example. If I just gave a list of, right, this is all the ski hire shops in the ski resort, that's not that useful. People can Google it. Whereas what I could do is say, you know what, if you want the really good skis, go to this shop. They do the best skis. Whereas if you've got kind of funny, wiggly shaped feet and it's dead hard to get ski boots to fit, go to that shop because they've got the best boot fitters. Whereas if you're a beginner and you're just looking for value, like your fancy skis will bring nothing to you, then this is the value shop. Now that's useful. That's useful content for the internet. It's easy for people just to find a list of ski hire shops, but they don't have that insider information like you do to say, right, this is the fancy skis shop, this is the funny shaped feet shop, and this is the great value shop. That is useful. So not only share your opinion, share your expertise. That's what I should be writing to make that 10x user experience. Okay, I'm on to step 3. We know our keywords. I picked my battles I'm going to fight. I've done loads of homework there. And I've done my on-site. I put the right words in the right places being the big main bits, the most obvious bits on your website. And also I've made my website larger, better, and more helpful for my rivals. Okay, now if all else is equal, then link building, your backlink profile, that's what's going to decide who comes top if all the other steps are equal. Now, Google views one link to your website as like a vote. It's like a public recommendation. If someone links to your website, it's like them saying, you know what, this website's good. It's worth looking at. And the site with the most votes wins from the top of Google. That's great. But there is a big fat but here. Not all votes are equal. Not all opinions are equal. Okay. And the way we should be thinking about it is who would you trust about your industry? And Google will think the same. Okay, so let's go and have a little example of that. What have we got here? Let's go and have a look at MechV. Okay, this is a little, it's one of our businesses. We started this last autumn. We're talking about wind turbine inspections with drones. That's what this company does. So imagine I owned a wind farm and I was wondering about getting recommendations to get someone to come inspect it. Who would I trust? Well, people that know about drones or people that know about wind turbines. They'd be a good place. So maybe drone trainers in Ireland or people that actually sell the drones in Ireland, or like the kind of drone, any kind of like industry organizations, the kind of drone organization of Ireland. They'd probably know if they're a decent company, at least if they're a licensed company, if they know what they're doing with drones. And then also people that know about wind turbines. So it might be other wind farm owners and operators. They would be a great source of recommendation. Maybe the manufacturers, and maybe even people like the Cork Chamber of Commerce and other businesses who won't necessarily know specifically about the drones or the wind turbines, but it's like, yeah, I met them at a networking event. They seem nice lads. They seem to know what they're talking about. They seem decent, honest people. Even those people who are kind of geographically aligned with them, those type of opinions you would probably trust, and Google trusts them too. Now, who would I not trust for a recommendation about getting a wind turbine inspected? I would not trust a hotel in Thailand, for example, because there's zero relation of industry. They're in hotels. This is wind turbines and drones. There's no overlap whatsoever. And there's no geographical overlap at all. Okay. So me in my real life, I wouldn't trust their recommendation, and neither does Google. In fact, it doesn't just count for 0 points. It can actually count for negative. It can damage your rankings, because when Google sees links like that from completely unrelated things, it goes, there's something fishy. There's something fishy going on. There's no way that the person that owns that hotel knows the guys on the other side of the planet that go up and down wind turbines. They're trying to fix their Google results. They're buying links. They're doing some funny, dodgy link scheme. They're up to something. They're trying to falsify their way up the Google rankings, and Google will sometimes catch and punish people for this. So when we're doing our link building, the key is about quality. It's not quantity. Who would give you the best as you? Okay, so we know how to get up Google. Keyword selection, on-site optimization, and our off-site, our link building. Lovely. But how big a site, or how many links do I need? Well, SEO is all relative. How many links do I need? I just look at the number of links, look at the backlink profile of my rivals, about that many. How big? I need to go and look how big and useful my rivals' sites are. That's about how big it needs to be. My rivals for me, is the top 5 positions in Google, not page 1, top 5. Why do I say top 5? Let's have a look. Let's go and see where people actually click. Okay. We can see, look at that, 99.2% of people click on page 1. So I don't care about page 2, page 3, all the rest of that. There's almost no clicks on those. But even within page 1, it's massively skewed towards the top. 75% of clicks are in the top 3. So for me, when I'm picking my targets, I don't target page 1. It's the top half of page 1. So I'm looking at positions 1 to 5 going, how many links? How big is their site? That is my goal. That's where I need to come. All righty, pros and cons. One of the big pros of SEO is it reaches clients in a buying mentality. Generally, if someone is actively looking to buy a product, they don't get out Facebook. They generally go to Google. If you want to book a train ticket from Cork to Dublin, you don't open a social media platform. You generally go to Google. Train, Cork, Dublin, click, bang. So it peaks. Those clients who are in a buying mentality, they tend to be on Google. And it's the best long-term value in digital marketing. What's the disadvantage? Well, it's a huge upfront investment. So if we have a quick look back at our lovely graph here, there's zero traffic on page 2, we might as well say, and there's not much on the bottom half of page 1. So imagine I'm doing a giant SEO campaign. I start on page 10, I do a whole load of work. I get to page 3, load more work, bit more work, page 2, bottom half of page 1, and all this work is getting me just about no traffic. It's not until I get right to the end and I finally get into that top half of page 1 of Google, then all the rewards are right at the end. So it's a huge upfront investment for future returns. Okay. There's 0 rewards for a half-done job. I can't dip my toe into SEO. Dipping my toe is moving from page 8 to page 3, and both of those pages get no clicks. So there's no rewards for a half-done job, and it's useless for a new product, an unknown product. What am I talking about there? Basically, a product that's so new that nobody actually Googles it. Do you remember those hoverboards that were all the rage a couple of years ago? SEO wouldn't have worked for them because when they're trying to launch the hoverboard, nobody knew the hoverboard existed. Therefore, nobody typed it into Google. So Google SEO is only good for an established product that has an established market that has people already typing into Google. Top tips, keyword research is critical. So if you're using an outside SEO company, I'd always recommend you should expect pushback. Okay. If you give them a keyword list, it's unlikely to be perfect. A sign of a good SEO company is they'll come back to you and push back and pick holes in the SEO in the keywords, because that is the critical stage of it. Start with low competition keywords first. Don't go and try and fight with the big boys straight off. If you're new, pick some nice little easy to win battles first and slowly work your way up. And finally, nail your on-site first. We talked about on-site and also the link building, the off-site stuff. The on-site is what we should do first. We should in fact do it in order. We do keywords first, big on-site job, and then finally only off-site at the end. Pitfalls to avoid: retrofitting. That can be expensive. Yes, you can get somebody to build your website, and then afterwards you can go to like an SEO company or start SEOing it yourself. Very, very possible, but that SEO company will come and take at least half of the work your web development company's done, select all, delete, and they'll go and redo it. Okay, so it is expensive to retrofit afterwards. If you can avoid that pitfall, that's always great. Outsourcing content generation, yes, it's possible, but in our experience, it's not really possible without at least some input from you, because the outside company will never have that expertise of your industry like you do. And that's what produces the really high quality content that both your users and Google love. And finally, pitfall of dipping the toe in the water. No, SEO is an all or nothing type venture. All righty. Let's do a little SEO extra. Google My Business. What's that? That's Google Places, Google Maps, all that box of kind of other stuff that sometimes appears. Let's have a quick look. Sometimes if you're doing like a local search, as they call it, okay, you'll get this map appearing. See that little map appearing there? A whole load of map results. You might get that. Or maybe if you search for a business by its name, you get this big box appearing down the side with lots of information. A lot of that information comes from Google My Business. It's awesome, it's free, it's easy, and I would definitely recommend putting a bit of time into that for everybody. Okay, why is it awesome? Well, it controls your first impression of your company. Okay, we sometimes accidentally think that our homepage and our website is the first impression, whereas really, actually, it's what appears in Google. I search for this company by name. It's this lot that appears. That really is the first impression that our users get. So it's wonderful. You can control that. Okay. You just make an account, google.com, business, set up, and Google will feed it. Not all, but it'll feed a lot of information from what you add. And the map results are really good for local searches. What do I mean by local searches? Anything that's in a geographical area. Now that might be because you've actually typed it in. I want a hotel in Paris. You've said, I want to go to Paris, and Google goes, you don't want hotels anywhere. You just want it in this one geographical area. That would be a local search. A local search would also be one where Google's kind of guessed that you want it in an area. If I open Google and type in coffee shop, click bang, although I haven't specified I want a coffee shop in Cork, Google will put 2 and 2 together and go, he's in Cork and he's looking for a coffee shop. He probably wants a coffee shop in Cork. So it will automatically flick into local mode for you. And that's where you start to get those maps, all those map results, which are really, really good. They're particularly good because, they're particularly good because look at the pride of position they occupy. All those organic search results we talked about before are kind of pushed down the page by this giant map. So it gets a lot of clicks. They are really quite powerful when done well. They're really, really good. So that's Google My Business. My top tips, when you go in there, fill out everything. Don't do a half job. It's worth that time. It's great value for money. Keep it up to date. It's good to stick an alarm on, go every 6 months or something like that. You can add things like special offers, events, holiday opening hours, all this stuff. And by encouraging your clients to add Google reviews, it just helps. It helps your ranking. If your Google reviews come in, if you're adding comments, if you're responding, it all helps get you higher up those little map listings. That's it's a really good one for, to be honest, all businesses. All righty, next. So we've had a good thrash through SEO. Let's look at pay-per-click advertising. What are we talking about? Okay, there's 2 main categories of pay-per-click advertising. So we have the search advertising, they're the ones that come at the top of the Google search results. And then we have display advertising. That's a different thing. That's on third-party websites. You know, when let's say you go and look at a new set of shoes online, and then for the next month, those shoes, they kind of follow you around the internet, or they just keep appearing ads for them all over the internet. That is display advertising. Now, you still buy it from Google, but then those ads appear on all sorts of different websites. Okay, so we'll get stuck into search first. Okay, so the search ads are the ones that appear at the top of the search page in Google. How does it work? Well, you start off by picking your search terms. You can go to Google, you can make a little account, you go and pick what terms you want to come up for. You design your ads, the little text that you want to appear there, you control that all the way down to, every single dot. And then you bid a price per click. You say, I'm willing to pay €1.50 for everybody that clicks on me. And whoever bids most comes top. But you can filter who your ads are shown to by more than just the search terms. Yes, you pick the search terms, but you can also filter by location, by age, by interest, by gender, by what device they're on, by household income, by parental status. There's loads and loads and loads of stuff you can filter down to really make sure your ads are getting in front of what is the perfect clients for you, because you're going to be paying for every click. So you don't want to pay for the people that may not convert. You want to save your budget for the perfect client. You can really, really, really filter down in. So what are the pros and cons of pay-per-click search? Well, same as SEO, it just it reaches the clients in that buying mentality. Yeah, people often, when they're actively sitting there with a mouse in one hand and a credit card in another, they go to Google. So both SEO and the pay-per-click search, it gets those people who are in that buying mentality. It turns on traffic instantly. Remember, an SEO campaign for something competitive might take 6 months, 9 months, even a year for a giant campaign. Whereas if I want traffic today, I can go to Google, make an account, put in my credit card details, boom, and I've got traffic on my site this afternoon. I've got it right there, right now. And that makes it great for testing, because what I can do is say, well, I could spend 6 months doing a giant SEO campaign for that keyword, but I'm not really sure if they're going to convert. Are they actually going to buy my product at the end? I don't know. Well, go and spend a load of money on pay-per-click, just do a little test, and you can get some instant traffic and quickly find out, are those keywords, are they the right people for you? You can find that very, very quickly and go, yes, they are the right people, or no, they're not. Geez, I'm very glad I didn't spend 6 months doing an SEO campaign to only find out then they're the kind of wrong set of people for my product. What are the disadvantages of the pay-per-click search? Well, it can be eye-wateringly expensive. So what's kind of normal? Per click, you might be paying 1, 2, 3, maybe €4 a click, something like that's normal. You do get the odd thing that's under €1, 80 cents, things like that. But to be honest, that's quite rare. They tend to be quite low value keywords. The most I've seen in my work, €60 per click. It can be crazy expensive. Okay, imagine that €60 for them just to go click. Oh no, that's the wrong thing. Back to Google, boom, and you're €60 poorer. So in the long run, it's expensive. SEO will be cheaper in the long run. Now, many consumers don't click ads. You hear different stats across the internet, but you might hear that 30% of users are willing to click on ads, 40% of users are willing to click on ads, figures like this. So it means that there's this large segment, they always just scroll past the ads. So you'll be missing those. And of course, same as SEO, it only works for products that people Google. So it won't work. If you have just invented flying taxis, this is the wrong way for you, because nobody Googles for flying taxis because no one knows they exist. Okay, so it only works for products with like an established market, same as SEO. Tips and pitfalls. Okay, again, keyword research is critical, perhaps even more important here, because you can really pick every keyword you want. I would highly recommend talking to your niche. Talk to your niche. Now, let's say you are. I've got a good one here. We're going to go and look at this one. Okay, this is another drone website, another drone business we've got. Okay, engineers with drones. So what we're doing here, we'll expect anything from an engineering point of view. You can take the whole world of drones, okay, and you can divide it into two halves. Okay, it's either drones flown by wedding photographers, where you want to get amazing sweeping shots and great big vistas and panoramas, or you can have drones flown by engineers who are like, yeah, you see that bridge is a bit rusty underneath there, and that big tower, yeah, that's got problems at the top. And we are 100% that second half. We're not the artistic side. This is the engineering. This is the engineering side. That's what these guys do. So when I say talk to my niche, I don't want people who are looking for the artistic side, the wedding photographers. I don't want those clicking on ads for us to then come to our website and discover, this is the wrong company for us, because I paid €1.50 per click for everyone that comes here. So in my ad, I'm going to really actively say, you know what? We are the engineers. We're the engineers. So if you would like an artistic one, don't click here. It's probably the wrong for me. So I'm really talking to my niche. That's one of my big top tips. I'm going to filter, absolutely filter. We talked earlier on about all those different possibilities to filter down by age, by location, by device, all this type of stuff. Really think of sitting and think, okay, which is going to be perfect client for me? That's time well spent. And finally, multiple landing page. You spent ages crafting getting the perfect client, the perfect filter. Don't drop them on your homepage. If there's a better page on your website, put them on the perfect page on your website. A landing page is any page on your website where somebody arrives. That's what a landing page is. So if the homepage isn't a perfect fit, but you've got another page on your website that's better for that visitor, stick them on there. Pitfalls to avoid. Google's broad matching. Google's always got a big tick box and various buttons you can press. I'll just show my ad to more people. Generally, that broadens the range of people you get to, and you move away from those high quality potential leads who, really might quite likely want your product, down to the ones that only might want your product, only could be vaguely interested. So it really drops your conversion rate, as we call it. You get worse values. So just always be cautious of that. Paying for your company name. I don't know why people do this. Sometimes you will see, I've seen very famous things do it. Huge companies, even like eBay, used to do it. They used to bid for the phrase eBay, and then they realized it was a terrible idea, stopped doing it. And I can't remember how many millions they saved themselves a month, but it was some eye-watering amount of money they'd been bidding for their own name. You generally don't need to. If someone's typing in your name, they want your business, they will scroll past the ads and they will find your business. And finally, that broadly appealing ad text. Let's look a little bit more at that broadly appealing ad text, because your ad is the gatekeeper for your business. And if anyone leaks through, you've paid for them. So you don't want to pay for those ones to leak through. You only want to pay for those perfect clients. Okay. When I'm writing ad text, this is my mindset. If you're not the perfect client, go away. Okay. It's quite a different one. It's quite a different mindset from a lot of advertising, but here I'm not paying per impression. Okay. Every time my ad appears in Google search, it's free. It doesn't cost me anything. It only costs me when somebody clicks on it. So before they click on it, I want to have a big filter and say, if you're the perfect client, yes, please click me. But if you're not, go away. So that's where that engineers with drones one is a great great example. There'll be, if we ever did have paid advertising on that, it would be really obvious. There'd be the word engineering, the word inspection there. It would be something really obvious saying, listen, if you're doing a music video on the top of Cliffs of Moher and you're on a camera to swoop past you, that's not us. Whereas if you've got a big building that's looking a bit crumbly at the top, we are the guys for you. Okay. And how do I do that? How do I do it? I'm being super specific about what I offer, and I'm including my target segment in the ad. I'm including engineers, I'm including inspections in the ad. All right. Let's have a look at the display side. So the display side, they're those ads, the ad for the shoes that follows you all around Google. So you can see a little example looking at weather forecast there. It's these type of big banner ads that appear. So yeah, you buy them from Google, and Google will then display them on these third-party websites. I'm on AccuWeather here. You pay per click, and Google will share some of that revenue down through to the website owner. That's how it works. What's the main use of this display advertising? It's very different to search, a different use. The first one is remarketing. Now, remarketing is awesome. It's where you have a lead, or lead, that sounds good, a lead, just someone who's potentially interested in your product, okay? When they're kind of sitting on the fence and you just want to keep reminding them that you exist until they go, you know what, I want the product. And that's why those shoes keep appearing to you. And that's what remarketing is. It's just getting that brand in front of them and in front of them, and getting those kind of brand cycles, brand recognition cycles, as we call it. So you can really kind of embed your name into a user's subconscious. So what you'll find is generally remarketing is better value than advertising to first timers. So imagine there's only two people in the world. I can either throw my ad in front of somebody who has looked at my product, thought about it, and is sitting on the fence, or I can throw the same ad in front of somebody who's never heard of my company, who's never looked at my product. Well, I'm going to pick the first one every day and twice on Sunday, because they're really close to becoming a client. They just need that one more little impression, and yeah, we've got them. So that's what remarketing is, and pay-per-click display is awesome for remarketing. The other thing it's great for is introducing products. So this is the hoverboard when it first appeared. This is if you've just invented flying taxis, because nobody's Googling them. Pay-per-click search, SEO, they rely on people actively looking for a product. If people are not actively looking for your product, they're no use at all. Whereas display can introduce a product to people who are not looking. Again, with all those wonderful target by. You can target by location and interest and household income, yada, yada, even specific websites. The specific websites will sometimes tell you the interest. So let's have a look at one of those. This is Accenture doing display ads because they want to get new employees who are coders. So what have they done? They've put ads on a coding help website, because they know that anyone who's looking at this website is who codes for a living. And even more so, they know specifically the type of code. This is a JSON file. So whoever's looking at this page knows at least a little bit about JSON files. Really, really specific. So you really can talk to a very niche audience if you do the hard yards to really pick where your ad displays. Pros and cons. Okay. Allows remarketing, which is amazing. Great for impulse purchases. You can just pop up an ad for something that costs 30 quid, just click, bang, spend. Yes, if what you're selling costs 5 grand, unlikely to be an impulse purchase, someone's not just going to hit their big buy finger on it. You can introduce a product to you can introduce new products to a market. And to remember as well, impressions are free. So when I look at these ads, Accenture weren't charged anything for that. They're only charged by people who click on it. But at the same time, you know, I've seen it, it's in my mind, and you're seeing it. So these impressions are free. So it is quite a benefit of these display ads. Cons, your clients are in a browser mindset. What I mean by a browser mindset, they're not actively looking for whatever you're trying to promote, okay? They are busy doing something else. They're browsing for information. They're just surfing around the internet. When I was on that page, I was looking for a fix for my coding problem. I wasn't looking for a new job. So I'm not necessarily in the right mindset right there. Accidental clicks are a big issue on pay-per-click display. You will get a lot of big fat thumbs accidentally clicking, and then you're paying for those. And finally, the workload. Don't underestimate the workload to create and maintain these ads. You've not only got the text, but you've got all the visual side of it. And it is, to be honest, a serious job to create all that imagery. If you consider here, let's go for a little look back. This ad, I need to do it in 2 different sets of proportions. For this one page, only 2 different sets of images, and then you get mobile sizes and all sorts of stuff. So there is quite a lot of workload to create and maintain. Okay, pros and cons, tips and pitfalls. So we've already talked about how great remarketing is, and I love it. Of those two uses, that's my favorite. Build your audiences early. So what do I mean by that? Well, what you do is you put a little bit of code, like maybe through Google Analytics on your website, and that starts tracking the people who look at the shoes. So you've got your audience of people who have looked at shoes just in case you ever want to advertise them. So that's great to build those audiences, have them stacking up just in case you want to use them. Pitfall to avoid the stalker effect. We've all felt that when the same ad keeps coming around after us. You need to be easy about, you can go too big on that. Advertising after purchase. I bought those shoes and you're now annoying me by just trying to sell them to me again. I've already got them. Stop chasing me. So that's an issue. And not filtering enough. Same as pay-per-click search. Go big on those filtering options. If you ever press the button in Google, it's like, yes, just show my ads to more people. You'll get a lower quality of person coming through to your website. Lower quality meaning less interest in your product, but they cost the same. All righty. Social media. Let's have a quick dip into social media. Now, there's already tons of information out there on how to run a great social media campaign. So I'm not going to duplicate that. What I want to focus on is how to get the best value from social media, what you could consider to be almost the essential man hours, the good value man hours, and what maybe is disappearing down the rabbit warren and not getting much return. You could argue the 80-20 rule of social media, if you like. Okay. Key decision in social media is what's your aim? There's three potential functions. Okay. You could try and find new leads. That's what you could do. You could be there, you could be using social media to help turn leads into customers, to inform and to encourage leads to become customers. And you can also use social media to try and turn past customers into repeat customers or evangelists. Evangelists, those people that will stand top of a mountain and shout how much they love your company and how much they love your product. They're kind of three different things, in fact, that you can do with all digital marketing, not just social media. These really are the three main functions of all marketing that you work on. Now, the key to social media, or to doing it effectively, doing it in good value, is to know which of these you're trying to do and just focus in. This is my aim. I'm going to go all in on my aim. So let's go and have a look. I'll give you an example or two. So I've shown you a few travel companies that we have. Okay, we have loads of different businesses, but the travel are quite an interesting one. What's the core information we want to provide? What do we think users are looking for from a business like ours? Okay, they're looking for the cold information, contact details, opening hours, website address, just factual information. Some people are turning to social media for that. They're looking for the what's going on right now. There was a big storm last night. Is our office still open? Those right up to the minute type questions. It is just a method of asking questions. Some people will still contact you through social media as opposed to email or phone. Only a small amount, but some do. So it's great to be on there for that. But finally, it's a credibility indicator. Some people will turn to social media just to see, hold on, are they a real business or is this a fraudulent website? Especially in travel, people are sending money overseas. They can be a bit nervous. Is it real? So I'll often turn to social media just to see, oh, yeah, they're real. I mean, that Irish tour business, yeah, I see they post photos of stuff in Ireland. It seems genuine. And they're looking at the comments, the reviews. They're looking at the third party, the other people who are commenting, oh, yeah, those comments seem normal. Yeah, I think this is a real business. So it's a great source of a credibility indicator when people just are a bit unsure and they want a bit of homework just to make sure you're real and genuine and do what you say. Okay. And then sometimes we sway into the extras side. Sometimes we go, you know what? Maybe we want to do a little bit of a get to know you, a little bit kind of get behind the scenes. It can be good for that, but that's only appropriate for certain businesses. We mentioned the ski gathering or solo skiers business before. People love getting behind the scenes on that because people there, they're going on holiday on their own. So they're very nervous. You know, what happens if I get there and I'm twice as old as everybody else, or maybe I'm half the age as everybody else, or I don't know, maybe they're all crazy, strange people. I'm nervous. So they love to have a look on social media just to get behind the scenes and see what we actually look like in real life and see what the other guests look like and go, oh yeah, no, that's reassuring. They look like a lovely, friendly bunch and they look, you know, similar enough to me. I'm happy. So for those type of businesses, it can be great to get behind the scenes. And that's it. I have all my guys who work with me on social media on quite a short leash, for want of a better phrase. This is all we do. So we get into social media. When we open social media, you have an aim, open it up, do the function, and then get out. Because the risk of social media, if it's just a bit broad, your spec, it can suddenly eat man hours and you end up disappearing into a poor value. Because marketing is all about value. You can never really look at one area in isolation. You can never say, if I did another couple of hours on social media, would it get me another booking? It might, but that's not the question. The question is, I've got 3 hours to spend. Will put in social media or pay-per-click advertising or SEO, which one will get me the most new bookings? And for us, social media has a big risk of disappearing down the rabbit warren. So we have a very distinct function that we're using it for. And that's it. In, do the function, and out. So pros and cons. What do we love and what do we not love about social media? Quick and easy credibility indicator. It's great for sharing current factual information. What's going on right now? Are you open today? People don't tend to go to your website for that. They tend to go to a social media channel. The paid ad side of social media works in a very similar way to the display ad side that we talked about in Google. It's great for getting a new product out in front of people, and you can do all sorts of amazing filtering to get right down. Social media companies know a huge amount about their audience, so you can really kind of design almost a caricature of your perfect client and just make sure that ad appears in front of them. And again, it's great for impulse purchases because people don't go to social media to actively shop, so it works really well for impulse purchases. Cons: it eats time if it's done poorly. And those clients, they are in an entertain me mindset. So we need to be conscious of what your product is. If you are like Mark and Colin earlier on trying to promote their accountancy services, I'm sitting on the sofa, it's 9 at night, I'm flicking through my phone on Facebook. I'm not really in the right mindset to go comparing accountants. I'm just there to be entertained. But if I'm flicking through and I see some cool new toy, I might go, yeah, I want that. Boom, buy. So it's just making sure that your product is something that would appeal to people who are in a, I'm lying back, entertain me mindset. Tips and pitfalls. We've talked about aim. Have an aim and only fulfill that. Don't go off half doing other things. And generally, there's so many social media channels. We generally recommend to be good at one, not average at 5. The world doesn't need another average social media account, or should I say, it won't cut through the noise. Social media is completely saturated. It's so loud. It's so hard to make yourself stand out. Being third best in 5 means you're not winning anything. You're better off concentrating on 1 or 2 maybe and saying, right, I'll do a pretty good job of these. Pitfalls to avoid: thinking it will be easy and free lead generation. Okay. So in lots of our businesses, we don't really use social media for lead generation. We have in the past. We've used the paid side of social media for lead generation before, doing the display ads and social media, and it's been brilliant. It's been very effective, very, very, very good. But it's just remembering that there's no such thing as a free lunch. If you're going for the paid ad side, they're great, but of course you have to pay, and it takes quite a lot of time to maintain them. And if you're going for the free side of social media, yes, it's good. Yes, it can be powerful, but you're exchanging money for man hours. That's what you're doing. There's no free lunches on social media. If you're not paying for it, then you're doing it in man hours. You're putting in the sweat equity instead, as they say. Okay. So you can find leads on social media. You can find them for free, but you can't with just a quick in and out. You need to put in serious man hours to do that. And finally, ego metrics, a wonderful phrase I've introduced to you recently. Chasing ego metrics. We need to be 100% clear in our head what we're after. And we're after new clients, and likes on Facebook and reshares on LinkedIn. They are not new clients. So I need to be very careful about high-fiving myself and high-fiving the rest of the team saying, hey, we've got a gazillion shares and look how many impressions we've got on this particular social media channel. What I'm after is end customers. And it's easy to get the two kind of fixed up. We really need to track all the way through and say, yeah, okay, I've got a gajillion likes, a gajillion followers. Where are the customers? Where are the customers? Because that's what I'm after. All righty. Our last little topic for the day: click-through rate optimization. What am I talking about here? Okay, I'm talking about controlling what displays in Google to try and get more visitors to my website from the same position in Google or from the same ad or the same ad in social media or whatever it is, to be honest. Wherever I'm displaying, I want to try and get a better return rate. I want to get a higher percentage of people to click on me, okay? And that's click-through rate optimization. But with a quick caveat, if it's a paid ad where I'm getting charged per click, I only want to make it more enticing to the perfect clients. The guys who may not be interested, probably not. I don't want them clicking on it because that's money you don't have to spend anymore on the perfect clients. This is click-through rate optimization. So let's go and have a little look. I'm looking now back on the Google search page on SEO. Yes, I can control what displays here. So we've got the big bar on the side here. Okay, there's the Mile and Tour one here. All this stuff up and down here. That big box, that comes from Google My Business, and I can control it, and it's well worth putting that time in. But what we haven't talked about yet is this text in the organic search results. I can actually control that too, mostly, okay? The blue text normally comes from my title tag, okay? And the text underneath comes from my meta descriptions. These are just little tiny bits of code in the HTML of your web page. You can control those, and it's massively powerful. They are the words that people are deciding whether to click on your business just because of what the big blue words say in little description underneath. You can control them. Now, what should you put there? That's a whole massive topic. We'll share some awesome resources for you on that, okay? But it's worth putting that time in. You'll be surprised how many people do an amazing homepage on their website, but really have only done a quick throwaway version of the words that are actually trying to entice people to that website. So this is what we're talking about on click-through rate optimization. You can, when I say mostly control it, Google will most of the time take your title tag and most of the time take your meta description, not always, but you can control it a lot of the time, and it's well worth doing it. So what are my top tips on click-through rate? Craft the language, put the hours in to get that right. It's really, really great value for money. Reference your niche. If you are the lawyer for small businesses, don't be beige. Don't sit on the fence. Don't just say, sure, I'm a lawyer. Say, I'm the small business lawyer. I'm the SE, I'm the SME lawyer. Whatever your niche is, reference it and really, really go for them. Get them to click on you. And finally, what you do first, why pick you second, okay? The biggest issue in Google is not knowing if those are, let's say I want a lawyer in Cork. Is this company actually a law firm, and are they in Cork? That's my very first question that you need to satisfy, and that's what my text should confirm to them. Yes, I'm a lawyer in Cork. Secondly, I'm really good. I'm very good. I'm a brilliant lawyer in Cork too. But primarily, I need to say, yes, I am what you're looking for. What's the benefit of really working on that click-through rate? Yes, you get more clicks, but you not only get more clicks, you get a better first impression. You've already got that first, this is a great company thing in the mind of your customers, at least a higher quality website visitors. If I am the lawyer for small businesses in Cork, that means the people who are clicking on it, they're really interested. They're my perfect client. They're more likely to buy. That's only a great thing for me. And finally, I'll actually get a higher placement in search results. When people start clicking more on your link, because you've spent the time to craft the language to make it really enticing, more clicks, Google goes, people clearly like that website, and you get bumped up, which is great. You almost get this double benefit of putting those hours in. So I would argue that improving how you display in Google, just really crafting that title, really crafting that meta description, those bits that appear in Google, perhaps some of the best value you're going to get. All righty. What are our main takeaways from today? Now we're all done. Well, where should I be spending my time and money in digital marketing? Well, SEO is the best value client finder in the long run, but it's a large upfront investment and all the rewards at the end. So it's not going to help you in the meantime, but it'll be all glory at the end. And it only works if you've got a product people actually Google. So it's no good if you just invented your flying taxi. Pay-per-click search gives instant traffic, which is awesome. It's great for testing, and it's great as a stopgap. I've just got a little dip in some other way of finding clients. A few ads can give you a little bump instantly, but it is expensive. It can be eye-wateringly expensive in the long run. Pay-per-click display, well, remarketing is awesome, and I love it. It's a great use of it, and it's great for introducing something to a new market, but it will eat my money. If I don't do the hard yards to manage it, it will eat my money. Social media, just beware the time drain. You can do amazing things on social media, all I would say is make sure you have an aim. That's the crux to running an efficient, cost-effective social media campaign. Why are we on social media? What are we trying to do? And then just fulfill that. Don't go off down the rabbit warren. And finally, click-through rate. Yes, you can control how your company displays in Google, and everyone should do that. It's your first impression, and it is amazing. Alrighty, so we're just about done. What next? So we've recorded today's session because I know I've personally been hammering through all this. There's loads of information. It's all been recorded. If you want to go back and have a look, I will share links to all the resources I've mentioned. So I'll do that. If you want to connect up on LinkedIn, absolutely do. I'll make sure I post it there. I'll also send it out on a newsletter on squarefish.ie on our website there. I'll also create a little page on the website with all that lot on there for you if anyone wants to look. If you want to learn more about digital marketing and these type of topics, well, we'll be doing future webinars, so make sure you connect up. Our resource hub on squarefish.ie/resources got loads, and the Republic of Work Lunch and Learn series that we're on right now is great. There's loads of speakers covering loads of topics and lots of stuff in digital marketing, so absolutely make sure you sign up and listen out for what's coming on. Now, if you do want to connect up, one quick thing, we're not actually a digital marketing agency, which is kind of really, it was half the reason I wanted to do this talk, because it gives me, I suppose, the opportunity to do a slightly unbiased version. I don't need to say that SEO is great for everything, because it's not. It really depends on your business and your stage of your business life cycle. What we actually do, we're like a little angel investment and business partner company. We work with like startups and SMEs, things like that. So our partners get an investment plus a full business team. So it's a little bit different from normal angel investment. We do the investing side, but we also get the active business partner. You get me there with my big spoon, getting stuck into the business, rolling my sleeves up. And then I've got a team of staff as well. I've got a digital marketing team that can help out and a tech team that can help out as well, just to be an extra shoulder to the wheel to get businesses up and going, or to get established businesses that maybe have plateaued, to give them the kick to get through, to get growth going again. But all of that said, although we don't sell digital marketing services, I love it. And I can talk marketing all day. It's my first passion in working life. So if anyone wants me to, if you want to have a chat, if you want me to sanity check your digital marketing plans, just ask, connect up. I'll be more than happy to have a 20-minute chat on the phone. And if there's anything I can be of help with, 100% happy to, share ideas and thoughts. Just let me know. All the details are right there. Okay. Well, that's everything. So we are bang on our hour that we've done, but what I'll do is I'll hang around for 15 minutes for questions that anybody has. I understand if people need to duck out, our hour is done, absolutely feel free. I'll hang around for 15 minutes. I'll get through as many of the questions as we can. And then if we run out of time there, what I'll do is I'll make sure any questions we don't get to, I'll make sure I do good answers. And again, I'll pop them up either on the LinkedIn and on the pages on the website, and I'll share all that information. So we'll get stuck in. Righty. Let's have a look at some questions.
I'll just jump in there for 2 seconds.
Oh, sorry. Yes, please.
No, you're grand. I just popped a link into the chat box there, guys. If you wouldn't mind filling it out, just some feedback on today's lunch and learn, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Lovely. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, and thank you very much, Sherry. If I could perhaps slightly expand on that. Let me know. Let me know afterwards. Connect up. Let me know if you would like more of these, both on the feedback side, what was useful, what wasn't useful, what we can do better next time, but also I tell you, like, for example, we've really concentrated today on how you get people to your website. I'd love to do another one of these on how you build a website that persuades. Once they're on your website, what's the magic? What do you do to turn a lead that's maybe into a customer? So would you like more sessions? What would you like them on? Connect up, let me know, and we'll absolutely do our best. Thank you. All righty, let's have a look at some questions. Should you pay for your competitor's name? Question from Mark. Very interesting one in pay per click. So if I am searching in Google, should I put my rival's name? Should I bid for my rival's name? Well, there's two thoughts there. Yes, it can be beneficial. Yes, it can be beneficial. I wouldn't expect many clicks. Okay. And I would expect it to be expensive. Okay. So would I do it? That would be right down my list. Let's put it that way. It won't be the best value. It can give you something. It won't be great value. So imagine the mindset. I have gone to Google and I've typed in, I don't know, let's say the tour company we were looking at, My Island Tour, click, bang. Okay, I've typed it in, and some users will just assume that the very first thing that appears is whatever I've typed into Google, and they will just hit it, bang. And then when they get to the website and go, oh, that's not them. That's a rival. I didn't want that. How did I end up here? I don't even know. I ended up here. Back to Google. Bang. You'll get a lot of those clicks. So that is the risk of it. So you can do it, but you just need to be very, very careful of value. And if I was doing my pay-per-click ads, I would only be doing that type of thing if all my normal channels, when someone's typed in my products, that would be the first set of keywords, and rivals would be secondary, but I'd keep a very close eye on it. And if it does turn out to be poor value for you in your industry, trial it, but don't just leave it run. You can always cut it. Okay, right, let's have a look next. Okay, bid for rivals. That is all good. Lovely stuff, lovely stuff. Dan, I'm going to ask my colleague Dan to take over on this one. We've got a question from Ronan Leonard. Have you any thoughts on the credibility stats we get back in relation to pay per click? Dan, that's more up your field than mine. I'll let you take that one, please, mate.
Sure thing. Can you hear me okay at the moment? Just give me a nod, Phil.
Yeah, I can.
Excellent. Right. Okay. Really, really good question. And the kind of implied skepticism is a really, really healthy thing. I do think you should take statistics that are provided by Facebook, Instagram, and so on with a pinch of salt. They are marking their own homework after all, and they have all the incentives to tell you that your stats are a little bit healthier or a little bit better than perhaps they really are. What evidence do I have to suggest that their stats might be slightly off? Well, here's what we've done in the past. We always track traffic to our own websites, using Google Analytics is the main source for us, but there are others. And what we would do in those situations, we would track where does our traffic come from, how long do people stay, when and how do they leave the website, and so on. And we're particularly interested in those kinds of numbers when we're paying for the traffic to arrive on a particular page. So what we would normally do if we're running a paid ad on social media, we would build a specific page on the website that's just targeted for that, only for that ad. And if we're running 10 different ads, we might have 10 different landing pages, each specifically kind of tailored to the audience that we expect to land there based on the ad that we're running. And through Google Analytics, we're able to see that we've had X number of visitors on that page today and Y number of visitors tomorrow. And in general, those numbers don't match perfectly with what you see on Facebook side. So Facebook, their equivalent of analytics is called Pixel. And so you could go into Pixel and see how many visitors have I got from this ad. And in general, I've found it to be inaccurate. Of course, I'm measuring one data source against another, at Google Analytics versus Facebook Pixel. Why do I trust Google Analytics? Basically, because they don't have skin in the game. The Google Analytics in that case are not being paid to give me, there's no incentive for them to tell me that my ad is doing well. The incentive is really for them to give me impartial data. So as a rule, if the data is out between those two sources, I tend to trust Google Analytics more. Where I think Facebook's stats are good, whether for Facebook ads or Instagram ads, is just as a relative measure. I run two ads, ad A and ad B. Which one is the best ad? The one that gets the highest numbers is probably the one I will continue to invest in. And as a relative measure like that, I do think is useful, and that's where I would take it seriously. That's about all I've got on that one.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Let me throw one more credibility thought or related thoughts to credibility there, which is our end aim is customers, is clients actually buying something. That's our end aim. Getting them to our website is only a means to the end. So if you want to check the credibility, you really want to check all the way through, if possible, to that end aim. And I'll tell you why. The great example is bidding on your own name in pay-per-click. If you bid on your own name, you get a massively high click rate. Sounds great. And you get a pretty cheap conversion. You get a lot of people clicking, and they tend to stick on your website. They don't often bounce back to Google. I mean, they were looking for you after all, so they will stick. but they would have found you anyway. If you didn't put that ad up there, they would have just scrolled an inch and they would have clicked on you anyway. And I've seen studies to back this up. This isn't just me making this stuff up. I've seen studies where by stopping bidding on their own name, they lost 4% of clicks or whatever the figure is, something very, very small. And boom, you were paying 95% of what you're paying for, you didn't need to pay. So that's where you sometimes need to use a bit of gut instinct and a bit of almost doing your homework through how it flows to just check. The stats aren't the end. The main aim is clients. And can I track it through to actual real clients? Okay, I've got one from Jennifer here, which is great. We're a B2B business with quite a niche market within the healthcare sector. If we were to invest in social media, no doubt LinkedIn would be the best channel. What sort of budget would we need to achieve results? Okay, marketing spend is all relative, and it's all relative to the end of value of whatever you're selling. So how much you need to pay per click or how much you need to pay per impression, this type of thing, it depends on basically on what your competition are willing to bid. So that's why the pay per click model, I mentioned earlier on that, it's rare you see things maybe down about 80 cents a click, where some clicks can cost you 60 euros a click. And what's the difference? It's how many people are fighting over those eyeballs. That is how high it goes up. And how much those people fighting over are willing to spend? Well, it depends on the size of the reward. Getting this client, is this client going to get you a €100 sale or a €1,000 sale or a €10,000 sale or a €100,000 sale? It's that which completely defines how much you have to pay. So I can't give you a straight answer because there is no this budget will work for you. It's always going to be relative to whatever the value is of what you are selling and what other people are paying for it. I know that's not the best answer for you, but Jennifer, feel free to reach out if you want to have a chat in the future. We can absolutely have a chat and we can chat a little bit more about what you're looking at and maybe give you a bit of a better idea then. Right, I'm afraid we are completely out of time now. We are all done. So I'm sorry I haven't quite got to all the questions. I've got to most. What I will do is I will go through all the questions I've missed later on, make sure we post up a proper little answer. And as I say, if anyone wants to reach out and chat marketing, then you know where to find us. Please do. That'd be great. Okay, that's everything. Thank you very much.